Welcome to the Catholic Messenger Conversations podcast. Today, Bishop Thomas Zinkula and Director of Evangelization Patrick Schmadtke are talking with us about our Diocese of Davenport's Synod on synodality. The Synod is gaining momentum with listening sessions and conversations in and outside of parishes. So let's begin our journey of conversation. Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Let's go for it, Barb. Yep, okay. I'm ready.
Okay, Patrick, I'm going to start with you. Just in a nutshell, how would you describe our diocese approach to the Synod? Maybe you should begin with a quick definition. I know you're really good about the definition of Synod.
Sure. So, generally speaking, a synod comes from Greek, but it just means to walk together, to journey together. And the theme of journeying together is throughout Scripture. So, we take up that model, that imagery, that language in this synod. The two approaches or prongs that we're using for the synod are the structured listening sessions, which seek to leverage the already existing institutions and structures of the church, our parishes, our schools, and have those host listening sessions. The other initiative is the 58,000 Cups of Coffee, which seeks to ask all people in the diocese to engage in these synod conversations.
Oh, that's cool. So what are you hearing from parishes and other groups about the organized structured listening sessions?
Lots of plans are underway. So as of this morning, we've had 21 parish listening session reports submitted, and there's many, many planned for February and March and April that are yet to unfold. So things are getting ramped up now.
And I have to include mine. I just found out that my parish synod co-partner said, "Oh, I thought you were submitting the report." So
we'll be at 22.
You'll have number 22.
But you've had your listening session.
We've
right?
had, well, actually, ours was just we were trying to do sort of just a test run. So there were just like 9 of us on the parish council, so it was more like probably like the conversations kind of thing. But so we're going to get ready to do like more formal listening sessions, because I think you want the listening sessions not to just be within the parish, the parish bodies, but I'm thinking we could do groups that we serve outside the parish, Cafe on Vine, or some other groups maybe.
Absolutely, and that is the intention of the synod that Pope Francis has called us to. In the past, most synods are in-house, in-church exercises, often of bishops in Rome, but this is completely open-ended. It's a totally unique exercise of discernment that Francis has called us to. So we need to think creatively and outside the box and turn outward and get beyond the 4 walls of the parish.
Yeah, so now, like you're saying, Pope Francis is saying, not just the bishops, whatever, but take it to the parishes. And we're saying to the parishes, not just the parishes either. Take it out to the folks, wherever, however you want. Just be really creative in ways of doing that, especially people on the margins. We don't hear from them enough, and so we need to do our best to connect with them.
That's exciting, but it's a little nerve-wracking. I mean, I think about if you go to groups outside and ask them about the Catholic Church, I always feel like a little sense of like, ooh, are they going to reject us? Or you deal with it, right?
Yeah, well, we'll hear hard things.
Yeah.
Even within the church. Maybe even harder things within the church.
Yeah, that's right.
But like, for example, the Iowa City Catholic Worker House they're all excited about this, and they serve the immigrant population, so they have an inn there with them, and homeless people, that need a place to stay and food to eat. So they have access to folks that, more readily than maybe you or I. So that's just one example of hearing from people that are more on the margins.
Yeah.
And they're not all Catholic, these people that they're serving. So you got a lot of different, lots of diversity there.
Yes. So can you tell me about this 58,000 Cups of Coffee initiative? Is it gaining a lot of traction in our diocese and beyond? What's the story behind this initiative?
Sure. So there's lots of coffee yet to be had. So the general idea is that in the annual mass counts in the fall, we found out that there was 19,399 Catholics in our pews. That's just over 60% of pre-pandemic levels. And at the same time, as mass counts were happening, the synod came along, and we were thinking about, well, how do we reach out beyond the people in our pews? And so the idea is that if all people in our pews today have 3 conversations about the synod, then we'll get to this 58,000 cups of coffee. And so we're inviting people to have a conversation with someone already in the pews, somebody who used to be pre-pandemic but is no longer, and somebody maybe who hasn't been a member of our faith community for 5, 10 years, or perhaps ever. So this is an attempt to, again, turn outward and get beyond the 4 walls of the parish by asking people to engage in dialogue with people that they have relationships with.
Wow. And what are the questions people are going to ask in these conversations?
Right. So the basic question for the synod in our diocese is, based on your personal experience, what fills your heart and what breaks your heart about the Catholic Church? So it's this very open-ended question that allows space for people to really just dive into their experience and share that.
Have either of you had a conversation yet of what breaks your heart, what fills your heart conversation?
I have chosen to not participate in listening sessions, the more formal ones, because so I've had lots of opportunities. We're doing some at the Chancery, and there's like groups that I meet with, Presbyterial Council, and we have all of them doing these listening sessions, but I'm concerned about me kind of crabbing people's style, like
Right.
keeping people quiet. That's something they would say maybe that if I wasn't there, or or them coloring kind of my presence there coloring how they say something. I just don't want to people to feel inhibited by just my presence, just because the role I play. So I've tried to just observe this from a distance and be a cheerleader. I mean, I see the results, so
Right.
that's what I need. I have lots of opportunities to give my input, bishops' conference meetings and everything else, and in the diocese. So
What about the 58,000 cups of coffee? You could do a conversation with someone.
I did have a conversation with Patrick.
Oh, that's right. I took a picture at that.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I've done
But
that.
I wasn't really paying attention.
And I had a listening session sort of with 3 guys yesterday morning over coffee. And we were talking about faith stuff. We haven't written it up or anything, but yeah, so no, I'm a cheerleader.
Yeah. I had a conversation with my brother, one of my brothers, last week in Arizona, and that was really an awesome experience. But I was afraid. I mean, at first, I grew up with this guy, but I thought, gosh, is he going to think I'm weird to ask him about this? But he said, Barb, I'd talk to you about anything.
You're his sister.
I'm his sister. And
He already knows you're weird.
Yeah.
So, like, what's new?
That is true.
Yeah,
For
I mean,
sure.
siblings.
How did the
Anyway.
conversation go?
You know what? It went really, really well. And he was really, he just really wanted to reminisce about being Catholic, about growing up Catholic and what a great experience that was. And then, he felt kind of unincluded as an adult, married with kids, and wanted to get his kids into the Catholic school. And the tuition was, at that point, he's a young family, didn't have a lot of money, and couldn't get his kids into the Catholic school. And that was really disappointing to him and his wife. And at that time, also, the clergy sexual abuse situation was coming to the public eye. And so all of those things kind of turned him away, I think, a bit, at least his family. But so I still ask him, whenever I talk to him, I said, hey, are you thinking about going to Mass or anything like that? But then I thought, well, I'm going to have this conversation. And so, it might give him you talk about, I think, it plants a seed, maybe. Hopefully, maybe he'll, I can't really guilt him into going to Mass, can I?
No.
It's not the
That's
idea.
not a good idea.
Did you follow this approach? What breaks your heart? What
Yes,
fills
I
your heart?
did.
Yeah.
I asked him, what fills your heart, what breaks your heart? And I learned stuff, and it was really nice to know that, there are things I didn't realize that he really did have a joy-filled experience of church. And the whole idea that our family was involved in the church and the parish, and that gave him that sense of inclusion. And he was an altar server, and that was a good thing to him too. So anyway, I guess, Bishop, what does fill your heart about the 58,000 Cups of Coffee initiative?
Well, to your point about just your conversation with your brother and being nervous about that and everything, we've been doing these surveys and listening sessions with Vision 2020 and Rediscovering Sunday. We've done a lot, and now this is like, just, leave us alone. Probably people are thinking out in the parishes, but no. So we've been doing a lot of this, and what we've been hearing with regard to like evangelization. Probably maybe 10 years ago, people would say, "Oh, that's fine and it's a good thing," but they didn't see the need to kind of involve themselves in it. But these days, what I'm hearing from people, older people, middle-aged people, whoever, they know we need to talk about our faith more. They know that they have children, grandchildren, sisters, brothers. We all know people that have kind of drifted away from the church, and so, but they just don't know. I don't know enough about my faith. I wouldn't be able to answer their questions. They're nervous about that.
Yes.
And so I think what fills my heart is Pope Francis has given us an opportunity to engage people in conversation that you might not have had otherwise. But so you can say, rather than, "Hey, let's talk about faith," and it's like, "Oh my God, where's that coming from?" The church is doing this thing called this synod, and say a little bit about that, and we're supposed to, and our diocese is doing this 58,000 cups of coffee initiative, and they want to hear from people, and so you've got an excuse, to talk to people, and then you don't have to have all the answers. It's just listening.
Yes.
It's just listening. What fills your heart, what breaks your heart. I can. It's you might be nervous because who knows what people say, and they're going to say some hard stuff with what breaks your heart, obviously. So, but you don't have to have all the answers. And it's not the point to, in that conversation, to tell them to go to mass, right? I mean, it's just listening, and that's easy to do. And when I'm hearing from people, even though it's hard stuff that they hear in that one, the one question, response to the one question, there's some intimacy there.
Yeah.
There's something, the Spirit is there in that, and just the idea that the church wants to listen to folks, and that's such a huge thing. I didn't have that as much of an appreciation for that before we did. I mean, obviously listening is really important, but it's just, Pope Francis this is a masterful move on his part, I think. When he put it out there, it's like, what? Synod on synodality, what's that? But it's a good thing to do. I don't know where this is going to go, but the process itself is, I think, really good.
I love the simplicity of the question because it's just very focused. And I don't know if you kind of shaped that, Patrick, or if that, because the question, it gets to the very essence of who we are as people of faith, or what faith means to us. I mean, is that, tell me, how did, we kind of tailored that question, right, a little bit?
We did, and there's an evolution to the question. So the documents from Rome propose a question, something along the lines of, how do you experience the church as being a synodal church? We want to hear from people outside the church. I didn't know what the word synodal meant when I first read the documents. I learned it when it came out. So we wanted to sort of translate that language into the language of everyday use. And we wanted our question to be, we wanted it to be applicable in a variety of contexts and settings. So you can ask this question in a parish. You can ask it at a food pantry. You can ask it at a soup kitchen. You can ask it anywhere. And so by asking the same question in all of our settings, it sort of creates a consistency of what we're asking for the synod.
That's great. So what fills your heart about this initiative, about the 58,000 cups of coffee?
The enthusiasm that it's been met with by people who I've talked to about it. Almost everyone has said that, I have a sibling or a cousin or a friend who hasn't practiced for a decade or more, or some version of that story. And this has given me a reason and an opportunity to reach out to them. I myself have friends who I'm going to reach out to who haven't practiced in years. And it's I think will allow, Bishop used the word intimacy. I think that's exactly it, the sort of shared connection, and honesty and transparency. I had a conversation with someone, a 58,000 cups of coffee conversation earlier this week, and it was just a really powerful connection between that person's experience of the church and my person's experience of the church, and it just deepened the relationship and deepened each of our faiths, and I'm hopeful that that can happen in other conversations as well, and the excitement that people are having about it is a good early indicator. We're just getting started, but it's a good start.
That's great. So, yeah, what are you hearing, Bishop and Patrick? What are you hearing out in the parishes? First of all, about the organized listening sessions and the conversations. I mean, they're two different, obviously, approaches. Can you share some of the responses that people have submitted to the diocese or things you've heard? You get letters from people all the time about things, Bishop.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick is closer to it. If he could maybe start out on that.
Sure. So of the 21 listening session reports, I haven't read through them all thoroughly at this point, or tried to tease out like what are the main themes here. The general reaction among people who are coordinating and leading and facilitating the listening sessions has been positive. At first, it was the global church is invested in this process. Okay, how do we live that out here? And over the last couple months, we've discovered and are still discovering how to live that out. And that's required a lot of creativity on the part of people in our parishes and schools. It's not just a simple checklist of do these 5 things and you're done. It's a process, which means it's an open-ended opportunity for creativity, and people are really engaging in that.
Okay, so you're still kind of trying to digest what the reports are or what the listening sessions have to say at this point.
And those listening sessions will go through the end of April, at which point we'll dig through everything.
I can give you an example of an experience that I've had that was meaningful and powerful. So there's someone who has been writing me, emailing me about things, right? This person has issues with related to COVID and all that, it's kind of that whole thing. And so I got an email recently from that person kind of starting down that COVID road again. I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. And then the tone is shifting, and it's kind of like something's happened in this person's life. And so so a couple of emails back and forth, and the person had some time to reflect and to just kind of take a look at what we're doing with the synod, what's on the website, and I don't know if it's what breaks your heart, what fills your heart. I'm going to get into that kind of detail, but just reading what the synod is about and kind of what the Pope is saying and whatever, and the person's kind of softening, and clearly there's some conversion happening in this person's life. There's something. Wow. There's something, and the person asked, kind of the last response then was, will you walk with me? So the synod walking together, but just sort of as this person's kind of going through this transition, conversion in their life, will you, me, the church? I said, of course, right? So and this person hadn't even done. I don't think I'd even participated in a listening session. It's just the idea of this, and that there's this, that this is possible, that the church wants to hear from them. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Just the thought that the church wants to hear from you, and listen to what you have to say, soften this person's heart, and so
wow,
see where that goes.
That is so cool. Patrick, are there other dioceses that have asked to borrow your cup of coffee idea?
A diocese in the UK reached out a couple weeks ago about borrowing the idea. I think they should do cups of tea instead of coffee, right. But I don't know if they've gone public with their initiative yet. I checked their website a few days ago to see, but didn't see anything. So, but the idea is getting out there.
How did they get there?
I really don't know how they saw it. Perhaps on social media.
Oh, because you've been posting a lot on social media. That's a big deal, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to promote the synod.
Okay.
Get the word out.
Okay. So is that, I was going to ask both of you how each of you are promoting the listening sessions and conversation. So you're doing that through social media? Like what social media are you using?
So through our diocesan Facebook and Twitter accounts, I'm also just working collaboratively with parish leaders and school leaders to sort out what they might do for the synod.
Okay. And Bishop, I know you're probably tweeting to everybody, all your tweets.
I am. What I'm doing is
You're in trouble.
no, I am kind of on the case of people like Patrick and other people involved in this, and keep doing this, and we need to get more to the people on the margins, right? That's
Okay.
huge. We have to work to for that to happen. So I'm more sort of like pushing people.
Okay.
You can do that as bishop.
That's right.
Here, keep doing this and go in this direction, go in that direction. So that's kind of been my promotion of it,
So
and supporting the whole thing. And here we are, doing this and the articles in the paper and,
yeah.
and stuff.
So for you, it's word of mouth and friendly persuasion. Right?
Yeah, and just something comes from my office. Hopefully,
People will
will make it.
Right.
It makes a little bit of a difference.
Gosh. Okay. So how are you responding to the responses submitted to the diocese?
So our main response, our initial response is continued support and sort of the cheerleading and how can we help you more sort of role. Once at the end of April, the deadline comes for all listening sessions to be submitted. We'll have all the paperwork in, and we'll have 2 months at that point to read through it and then synthesize it into a 10-page report, which we'll send to the USCCB. But we also want to use this information, not just for that report, but really to assess where are we at as a diocese, how do people perceive us, how do people perceive the Catholic Church, what's their experience, and then that can really shape future efforts.
So how are you going to synthesize? Let's say you get 58,000 responses in. How are you going to manage that?
I'm going to drink lots of coffee. So there's a team of people at the Chancery, and we may invite other people into that process and team of analyzing. I've been in touch with a few sociologists at St. Ambrose University to learn how they assess qualitative data, and so that will be a learning process.
That'll be interesting to pare that down to 10 pages, Bishop.
The thing is, and we were kind of kidding around about that early on. Okay, well, we'll single space and small, and thin margins and all this stuff. But they actually, they tell you, there's rules about that. I think it has to be double spaced, maybe.
Double spaced.
And there's
Oh,
certain
wow.
margins. So they were onto that early on.
Did they say the size of the paper? Can we use scrolls?
No. We can get around this somehow, probably.
Yes.
Wow.
10 pages, is that like front back?
They did say we can include appendices. So
Oh, really?
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah, so I can see all these dioceses sending 50-page appendices, right?
Can be Jesuitical about this whole thing.
That's right, exactly. What surprise? Can you at least talk about? You've looked at a few of the responses. What surprise? Is there anything surprising you about responses, or?
I think that the most surprising for me, it echoes the story Bishop was telling, is just the hopefulness expressed at the fact that we're listening and engaging in this process of discernment so that we might hear where the Holy Spirit is calling us today. Mm-hmm. There seems to be an intuitive response on the part of people that I've heard from that says, yes, this is what we need to do. We don't yet know where it's going. Who knows what we will hear. We might have some general ideas, but a genuine openness to the promptings of the Holy Spirit is really life-giving. Surprise.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts from you on that, Bishop?
No, I haven't seen any response. I've heard Patrick talk about that in general, but I haven't seen any specifics.
So when do the listening conversations end and the conversations?
So
what happens to the responses? Well, we kind of talked about what happens to responses, but
So the conversation will end at the end of April is the deadline to submit reports to the diocese. The first report we received was on January 4th. So we're just 4 weeks into this. We have 21, did I say earlier, responses, or maybe 22.
You're 22 with
yours.
my parish, yeah.
So 4 weeks in, and again, things are really going to ramp up here in February and March from what parishes are sharing about their schedules of listening sessions.
Yeah, I know that with my parish, and we're supposed to meet with the pastor next week to start lining up how we're going to start. I guess we're looking at starting like a little committee to help spread this out. Is that what you're recommending? Well, I think you've got a whole website that talks about how to carry out these listening sessions, right?
That's right. And the sort of parish synod team that you're talking about is exactly what we're recommending. Many hands make light work. And
That's right.
so gather a group of people together.
I think you even have a video, don't you, on the website to show how to carry out one of these listening sessions?
There's a couple training videos on the website. Yep.
Okay, people like those YouTube things.
And there's like a manual. There's lots of stuff out there. Just people just go out on the website. They'll find, and there's questions and answers, and there's all kinds of
But
stuff.
you can kind of format it your own way, can't you, too? I mean, can you be organic about it? Just sort of.
Yes. So we provide sort of a template or a general outline of what a listening session might look like, but certainly it's adaptable to a given context. And so like a listening session on Zoom will look different than one in a parish hall, will look different from one in at a food pantry. So, but we give a flexible outline for people to take and adapt for themselves.
That's very good. And so where do we go from here, Bishop and Patrick? How will these conversations continue as a component of our diocese commitment to evangelization?
I mean, Patrick was talking about that a little bit earlier in terms of we've got some material to work with. Here's what people are excited about. Here's what they're concerned about, in the church. So if we want to evangelize, we need to address, if there's these things that people are excited about, well, let's run with that, and but if there's things that they're concerned about, how can we address those concerns? So we'll know our people better, what's kind of going on here in the diocese. And, as Patrick said, you can guess what some of their things are going to be. But there's going to be some things, too, that's like, that's interesting. And then, so we share that with parishes and schools and whoever out there. And as, in the chancery, it can shape kind of how we move forward. And another thing, too, though, is like with the 58,000 cups of coffee thing, initiative. So that doesn't have to end with this.
Yeah, that's what I
People
want.
get used to doing that. Mm-hmm. Okay, this isn't so bad. I'd like to think that might open things up for people in the sense of them being more inclined to have those kinds of conversations. And maybe, you can... It doesn't have to just be listening, and we can start with that, and there can be a conversation that develops. And so hopefully that's something that, because it can't just be the chancery or even the parish. It's really one-on-one stuff for this.
But what helps, I found, is it's almost like I wanted permission to have a conversation. I wanted to have a reason, a justification to have a conversation. And it's like, if my church is asking me, then you can do all kinds of things too. I mean, that's what I was wondering. I hope the conversations will go on to some other kinds of conversations that lead into more conversations that, you never run out of people to talk to, right?
Right, and maybe I haven't thought about this specifically, and we haven't, Patrick and I haven't talked about this, but, here's these two questions, and here's this thing, but maybe we can, on the roadways, and we hear what's kind of going on out there, and we can provide a template, or here's something that, a different kind of a conversation you might want to have. And we could do a video on that. We could, whatever, just what that might look like to help people to build on what this is very simple and basic and really important, as we've been saying, but okay, we've listened and we continue to listen, and maybe we can engage somebody,
I think you could do some like Rabbi conversations, Bishop.
We could.
And maybe even Ireland. You're going on this pilgrimage to Ireland. We could do
Way to get that in there, Barb. There's a little advertising. Good for you.
August 31st to September 9th.
People they won't want to come if they know that I'm going to be like grilling them on the whatever stuff.
That's right. Okay, that was terrible of me to do that, but hey, anyway.
It's your podcast. You
it's
can
my
do whatever
podcast,
you
that's
want.
Right.
So I thank you so much. Is there anything I'm missing? What am I missing on this conversation? Synod conversation. Did I cover the bases, or do you think there's something else we need to talk about?
I think you did a great job covering the bases.
Okay,
Yep.
good deal. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. We do our part. We've talked about what we're doing here. We send our 10-page report in, and then there's the rest of it, and it'll be interesting to see where
It'll be interesting to
things
see
go.
if Pope Francis says, "Hey, look at what the Diocese of Davenport had to say."
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time on Catholic Messenger Conversations.
Thanks, Barb.